Welcome back to America Right Now. I'm Tom Basile. The last number of years have seen some dramatic ideological shifts in American and global political thought. Those shifts have created some measure of spiritual and intellectual anarchy that is threatening to erode the freedom and security that has defined much of the post-war era. Among the most significant is the open shift among the political left in this country and among many young Americans towards support for forces who champion the elimination of Israel. Today, tolerance of anti-Israel and arguably even anti-Semitic voices in the Democratic Party are as welcome as support for the welfare state or abortion on demand or transgenderism. The ramifications of a weakened Israel are significant, though, for the future of American freedom and values. Little did the powers who helped create the State of Israel know back in 1948 just how critical her survival would be to the fate of the West and our own here in America. Israel is far more than a political distinction or lines on a map. It is an indelible connection with the God who gave us the moral framework for living in this life and a pathway to the next. That validation of God's very existence is antithetical to today's cultural and political Marxism that seeks revolution against free societies. Pope Benedict XVI once wrote that, quote, "The nations are God's great family, but Israel is the firstborn son, and as such belongs to God in a special way." Of course, he wasn't just referring to the political jurisdiction of Israel, but Israel in the biblical context. It is that God of history that the militant secularists are seeking to marginalize, if not totally remove, from the world in favor of the state. Israel is simultaneously a symbol of the pluralistic democracy and capitalism that are hallmarks of free society, unified with God's chosen people from whom Christ was born. Times like these should not only breed an unbreakable solidarity between Christians and Jews, but Americans and Israelis. Israel as a state is a representation of biblical truth. It is, by its very existence, an acknowledgement that the God of Moses and Abraham exists. Erasing Jews from the face of the earth through force, as the jihadists attempt to do, or through cultural, political, or academic derision, as the Marxists attempt to do, is not just an attack on one religion. It is an attack on the foundations of all Western civilization, especially America. Marxism and jihadism are also complementary with respect to the justification of violence to achieve revolution. Marx framed his violence as actually a benefit, stating, quote, "There is only one way in which the murderous death agonies of the old society and the bloody birth throes of the new society can be shortened, simplified, and concentrated, and that way is revolutionary terror." Israeli capitulation to Islamic terrorists or other forces that seek its destruction will ultimately lead to more violence. It would affirm both the Marxist and the jihadist professed justification for violence, whether for political or religious revolution. The weakening of Israel is linked to the designs of those tearing at American society today. Israel's existence and stability as a liberal democracy is therefore critical to buttressing our own values as a Judeo-Christian country. The amoral and atheist proclivities of Marxism or wokeism as a political movement and socialism or communism as government structures cannot be underscored enough here as central to the shifts in tone toward Israel that we have seen. Truly advancing the designs of those ideologies requires the liquidation, to paraphrase Stalin, of religion. Socialists, whose philosophy stems from Marxism and therefore militant atheism, attack Israel because of what it represents on a global scale, namely the existence of God and biblical truth, including the teachings of Jesus Christ. If there's no Israel and there are only cultural Jews, if any Jews left at all, then the Judeo-Christian construct that is the underpinning of Western morality and freedom collapse. The story of the Jewish people that buttresses so much of human history is one of struggle, sacrifice, and survival against the designs of pagan forces dating back thousands of years. It is not one of victimhood. It rejects, through both history and faith, the popular victimhood narratives of Marx and Engels and latter-day left-wing activists. It is precisely for these reasons that Israel is a target of the left. Leftists and Democrats are shaming and weakening Israel, accusing it of committing genocide without evidence. The secularists and the militant atheists in the Democratic Party know that Jews in Israel are the genesis of and connection to a biblical history that is transcendent. It connects Moses with the Ten Commandments, with King David, laying the groundwork for the teachings of Christ, the apostles, and the saints of the universal church. If you eliminate Judaism, weaken Israel, or associate either with abhorrent behavior like genocide, then you also begin to eviscerate the underpinnings of Christianity as well. By seeking to weaken Israel, Democrats are playing into the hands of the jihadists for the sake of advancing their religion of the state. Their castigation of Israel is an attack on the Creator that endows us with individual liberty and therefore American freedom itself.